Hi everyone, and welcome back to our top 5 again. So last time we spoke about working for a big brand, right? And what are the good things about working for a big brand. This time actually we're going to talk about the opposite. What are the good things about working for a boutique? Again, Matt and I were lucky enough, I think, in our career to experience sort of the two sides of the coin,
Yeah.
And we learn a lot of good things, working in a boutique as well. And now we are starting our own company, right? So you can't get more boutique than that, I guess.
Yeah.
So the first point is impact, So again, working for a big firm, you're gonna have limited amount of impact on how the business is run, simply because this is, state of the art, a household names that has been running the same thing, and they perfection the way to do things over, 50 years, 60 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
In a boutique, you can certainly have more impact on pretty much everything, especially if you enter the boutique as a manager or as a director, right? As part of the leadership team, I would say. You can certainly have a lot of impact on improving, I think, the boutique methodology, the recruitment methodology, just generally how things are done, internal recruitment, marketing, everything around it, especially if you can develop a good relationship with the owner of the business, and that owner trusts you and give you that freedom and hires you for that purpose to bring that know-how. I think it's a great opportunity to, again, have more impact on how the business is run and how the business grows.
Yeah, I think number 2 is financial reward. So you should be making more money, I think, working for a boutique than you are doing working for a big business, unless you're in a really senior leadership role for a big business, when I think the salaries can be also excellent. But certainly at a consultant level, manager level maybe. I think you should expect to earn a bit more money at a boutique. The percentages should be higher, the commission scheme should be more attractive. The resources are probably not going to be quite as good as working for a bigger business. So to reward you for that, the financial reward, the financial aspect should be better. And I think that's why a lot of people move. They kind of get the grounding, they get a couple of years in a big business. They realize that actually they have developed a network of clients, and they understand how to do recruitment. They don't need any more training necessarily on how to be a recruiter. So they want to take those skills and actually monetize those skills and actually get the financial reward which they deserve.
Yeah, I think that is quite predominantly for, it happens quite a lot, I think, for individual billers, right? Of course, the downsides of a boutique is certainly the financial reward for individual contributors can be much higher. At the managerial level, it can be a little bit different, I think. But certainly if Matt said, if you are somebody that has their own clients, their own candidates, has developed a little bit of a brand for themselves in a particular niche, you're certainly going to monetize more in a boutique than in a big brand.
Yep.
So the point number 3 is freedom, okay? So again, if you work in a boutique, you most likely you're gonna have a little bit more freedom around KPIs, maybe flexibility on how you run, I think, your own methodology. I think that can be quite rewarding. Working for big business, again, the methodology is fixed, the KPI is probably gonna be higher. And sometimes, around of these high activity KPIs, there can be a certain amount of nonsense, to be honest, and you get a lot of KPIs, not only the CV sent or the interviews you arrange. You might be KPI for client meetings, client calls, candidate calls, and God knows what's next. So certainly in a boutique, usually you have a bit less micromanagement, and again, because you should have that connection with the CEO or with the management team. And if a performance is good, if your results are good, then again, you should be given a little bit more freedom on how you do your things, basically.
Yeah, I think so. I think that kind of freedom is what people sometimes crave. Yeah. Okay. I think the next one for us is you may get a slightly wider coverage area if that's what you want in working for a boutique. I think if you think about the really big businesses, they're a machine, and they're designed to squeeze the maximum amount of revenue from the clients which they operate with. And often that means that in certain areas, they've broken down those industries and those functions into very, very, very niche areas. So you may only actually have a very tiny area which you're allowed to recruit in. And
I recruit accountants in semiconductor, right? Not sexy.
For example, yeah. So accountants in semiconductor in Nagoya.
In Nagoya.
So
Go and make some money now.
yeah, right. And that that's going to be tough because you're going to be really limited on the areas that you cover. And S3, we're not having a dig at you. We know that your style is to develop niche areas, and it can definitely work. But sometimes people may want something a little bit wider.
A little bit wider, right? Yeah.
I think if you work for a boutique, you're going to be less restricted, and that could be a benefit to you.
So the last one is ultimately, I think, again, in big business is a mixed bag, right? You're gonna have a lot of new grads entering the business, and again, as we discussed before, sometimes the people at the top are not necessarily the best recruiters. They are the best politicians. Working for a boutique, a big advantage of it is usually great billers navigate and get attracted by boutique because the financial reward is better. So for you ultimately work with better colleagues, people that are better at recruiting, That is I think is a huge value for you, especially if you're somebody that either you're again a new grad and want to be surrounded by basically the top dogs, of the industry. That can be a great way for you to learn and steal their secret and advance your career, basically. Or also, if you are a top performer yourself, sometimes it can be a bit frustrating working with people that constantly start their career and then they get a bit of experience and they move to another boutique, all right?
Yeah, and I think they don't require, if you work in a boutique, usually you're not required to necessarily have an input on the other people in your team.
Right.
I think whereas in a big company, you're expected to, especially if you're slightly more senior, even though you're not a manager, you're expected to take responsibility, maybe do some training, answer questions. There's a little less time you have to focus on your own billings.
But just in general, I think, if you are able to find a well-run, good boutique that is populated by good recruiters and good billers, I think that can be a great advantage. Either if you're somebody willing to learn and want to learn the trade, or if you're a good biller yourself and you want to be surrounded by people that know what they're doing, basically, without the fuss and without the politics that surrounds big business.
Yep.